Greetings, my fellow free philosophical thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3-Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful realms of planet Earth. Today's date is Saturday, October 4th, 2025. It's episode 1902, when political violence becomes signal and big banks are becoming irrelevant. Before I proceed, you can find me on multiple social media sites and podcast channels. Just type in Looky Luck number 3, Looky Luck Roman number 3, 3 eyes, or Looky Luck Roman number 3 podcast. Furthermore, if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. If you want to donate, go to PayPal at me or cash.app/Looky Luck number 3. If you want to give me a little crypto love and find me on Steemit, I'm there at LL number 3-podcast. Oh my goodness. Well, all I gotta say is the same old song and dance, blame game, finger pointing, one person's better than the other. I hate that president, worst president ever, but I can't even wipe my own rear end. Ain't that dandy? Yeah, all these one-dimensional hacks out there still want to bitch, complain, don't want to engage. You know what? Keep your mouth shut, have a penile microphone in your mouth, or a rare muzzle. Freedom of choice is what you got. So no more complaints. Do something about it. Plant those seeds, not an old tree. So this is why I always tell people for a very long time, be proactive. I don't hear all these stupid memes from all these other garbage stuff you share on your social media sites. It's awful, stupid, lousy. The turkey from Tinseltown. It reminds me of that movie, The Terror of Tiny Town, about the midgets or the doors or Western kind of movie. Yeah, I seen that many, many years ago. Not all movies by the late, great Big Wilson down in Miami, Florida. May it still be forever free, of course. Well, enough of that said. All I gotta say is stay vigilant, observe responsibly, and take action. Stop living in fear. Don't complain. Do something. If you got a gripe, don't want to do anything, you got nothing to say to me or any other like-minded individual out there. And I digress. Well, first thing I'm going to be reading here came from Mises Institute. These two articles I'm going to be reading from, narrating from the Activist Post. This one here came from Mises Institute originally. When political violence becomes a signal. This is written by Jimmy Alfonso Lecon. And as it reads here, the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a tragedy on several levels. It robs his family and friends of the time they would otherwise have had with Charlie, especially his young children and wife. It is a tragedy to Charlie. His wife was cut prematurely short. His life, not his wife, his life. I'm sorry about that. And it is a tragic signal that wrong words spoken, even in a liberal democracy, can get you killed. As an academic and public intellectual, I find that chilling. It is also unsettling, a case study in how democratic incentives can corrode political life. For all the shock and horror surrounding the killing, its logic not entirely mysterious. The tools of political economy and philosophy, especially concepts like rational irrationality and theories like costly signaling theory, can aid our understanding why political violence sometimes emerges from within democracy itself. Economists and philosophers have long puzzled over a simple question. Why do citizens participate in politics when their individual actions are almost certain not to matter? Casting a single vote, attending the protest, or running a letter to a representative rarely changes the outcome. Simple. Think and act locally. You got to push those buttons little by little. That's the name of the game, friends. That's what government runs. That's how it is. I'll continue on. The probability that your ballot tips a national election is about 1 in 60 million. That's roughly the same chance as winning a state lottery jackpot twice. So, in light of this, it would seem irrational for anyone to spend time or resources on politics at all. Yet people do, and they often do it so passionately. A popular account developed by the economist Brian Kaplan holds that citizens are rationally irrational. It is thus practically rational for individuals to indulge epistemic biases and partisan fantasies because the cost of doing so is virtually zero. If my single vote or tweet or protest sign won't decide the outcome, why not use politics to express my tribal identity. On this account, political ignorance and bias are not the products of stupidity, but instead are the product of perverse incentives. It is rational for individuals to remain ignorant about complex policy details while indulging in expressive forms of political identity. Red, blue, oh, expect to get screwed. The personal cost of error is negligible. Got it. Good grief. Negligible. And the tribal payoff can be large. I had to practice that before putting it on here. So forgive me, folks. I have to laugh at myself on my mispronunciation, but I corrected. I had to do my homework, make sure I do it properly. And I say that with love, but I'll continue on. This same logic extends into darker domains. Assassination almost never achieves the ends its perpetrators imagine. Institutions adapt, successors step in. Movements endure. Killing Charlie Kirk will not dissolve this conservative youth movement he helped energize, nor it will cure America's polarization. Yet, the assassin's calculus often looks different. Violence can be treated as a kind of expression, an act that signals loyalty, registers rage, or manufactures instant notoriety. Within the distorted incentive structures of democratic politics, such violence may appear subjectively rational, a way to demonstrate tribal allegiance. However, judged from the outside, it remains objectively irrational, producing social and political harms that far outweigh whatever fleeting sense of meaning or recognition the killer sought. Here, signaling theory helps deepen the analysis. Economists and biologists alike distinguish between cheap and costly signals. A cheap signal is easy to produce and therefore easy to fake. A political bumper sticker or social media post is cheap. Anyone can slap it on their card or timeline without much effort. Costly signals, by contrast, are harder to counterfeit precisely because they involve sacrifice. Buying an expensive engagement ring is a costly signal of commitment. Serving in combat is a costly signal of loyalty to one's nation. And at the extreme end of politics, violence unfortunately functions as the ultimate costly signal. To risk imprisonment or death signals has a steep cost that no slogan could. For political radicals desperate to signal loyalty or to cement a reputation, violence becomes perversely attractive. But the reputational logic does not end with the assassin. Political actors, media figures, and activists quickly seize upon acts of violence to enhance their own standing. Some rush to blame opponents, portraying the tragedy as proof of the other side's depravity. Others posture as voices of unity, presenting themselves as moral exemplars. Still, others exploit the moment to harden their preferred policy positions. The assassination becomes a reputational resource, a grim coin to be spent in the economy of tribal politics. It is unpopular to admit that sometimes virtual signaling and rationalization in politics can have unintended benefits, similar to Adam Smith's invisible hand in markets. In those cases, the self-interested signaling of partisans sometimes nudges social norms in a positive direction, and by broadcasting their moral connections to look good to others, even if insincerely, political actors sometimes thereby commit to moral progress on the pain of moral hypocrisy. Unfortunately, assassinations reveal the dark side of this process, where violence can hijack the signaling and reputation process, turning it from a potential source of progress into a driver of collapse. Instead of nudging norms upward, costly signals like political violence drag norms downward, reinforcing polarization and mistrust. Expressive violence intended as a tribal signal can end up corroding the conditions that make democratic cooperation possible. The assassination also illustrates a broader truth about democratic governance. Democracies are admirable because they diffuse political power, make it harder for a single person or faction to dominate. But this diffusion also creates weak incentives for truth-seeking. Individual voters have little reason to become informed. Politicians have strong incentives to pander rather than persuade. Partisans are rewarded for tribal loyalty rather than epistemic integrity. These are statements meant to persuade regardless of truth. And after an assassination, the incentive is not to investigate carefully or deliberately patiently. The incentive is to frame the tragedy in ways that will resonate with one's base, regardless of the truth. So that is why we see political leaders blaming entire ideological camps, activists policing speech on social media, and commentators spinning narratives before the facts are known. None of this analysis excuses the act. It does not diminish the horror of Kirk's death or the grief of those who mourn him, but it does help us in appreciating that democracy, by diffusing political power, weakens the incentives for individuals to pursue truth or policy impact. This vacuum encourages expressive politics where reputation and tribal identity take precedence over rational deliberation. In most cases, the result is merely wasteful, but in some cases, it is horribly tragic and catastrophic. I'll be very honest. That's why in these United States, we're considered a republic, not a democracy, because democracies have a one-vote system. Our republic, three-vote system. The polls, jury box, and jury trial, jury nullification. If there's a certain law that's considered, you believe, an apparent conflict or unconstitutional, you can say not guilty on a grand jury, don't indict. Just give you some examples. And nullification does work, anti-commandeering doctrine. That's why we don't have a one-vote system, which democracy is. So I say that in good faith. I'm not here to cast stones at this writer because he does have great points. This is why when you go with factions, it is dangerous, because George Washington even warned us on it in his farewell address. That's why I always tell all my beautiful people out there, be the sentinel instead of a faction slave. Don't follow the herd. Do your homework. Look at everything thoroughly. Even if you have differences with certain people, they're not your enemy. You're sharing views, and you can probably learn from one another. And I find that vital. Too many people want things my way or the highway. Like they all assume the world should revolve around them. Forget about it. They're nothing more than contaminators, desecrators, defecators. All they do is crap on everybody. This is why I always tell people, be a sentinel instead of a faction slave. And I'll be right back for my final segment. So stay tuned. All right, I'm going to do one more here. Came from Activist Post, but originally Dollar Collapse. It was written by Brian Lutz. Came out yesterday, too. Big banks are becoming irrelevant, and they know it. At the end of August, contender for the Fed chair, Michelle Bowman, told banks that change is coming, and unless you embrace AI and crypto, your business will slowly die. With Powell's retirement and Bessent's drive for stablecoin implementation to save the U.S. debt market, the next Fed chair will surely embrace those ideas too. Woo! Yeah! I love illegal institutions. Yeah, baby. I'll continue on here. Karl Marx is climaxing in his grave. I'll continue on here. There are two reasons for this transformation. One, debt. The amount of debt big banks are carrying make it increasingly harder to turn a profit and ensure a stable future, and the amount of debt the U.S. is carrying can never be paid off. Two, AI and blockchain are placing power into the hands of individuals, not the institutions. So the choir is singing a new gospel. And we're going to go down here. Bloomberg reports, Bowman says, change is coming to how Fed views AI and crypto. Banks and regulators must embrace the benefits of the new technologies such as artificial intelligence and crypto, or risk diminishing their role in the economy, said U.S. Federal Reserve Governor Michelle Brown. Change is coming, said Bowman, the central bank's top bank watchdog, in prepared remarks for the Wyoming Blockchain Symposium. Ideally, regulators will allow new users to proliferate in a way that benefits the banking system, she said. This is not our approach. Then we risk the banking system becoming less relevant to consumers, businesses, and the overall economy. Hooray! For the past 2 decades, junior bankers have been slammed with more work than they can handle, while the firm itself transforms their jobs into something new, mainly automating tasks, implementing online banking, and enabling self-directed investing. Now, banks are handing over even more complex tasks to agentic AI to compete with individuals who naturally want to control their own money. The thing is, the new services banks are adopting to save money are either not what consumers want or are something consumers can find elsewhere. Does anyone want to wade through the mire of AI chatbots? Exactly. No more human beings. We'll just have robots talk to us for our behalf, right? Please. CNBC reports. It tells you how much I really love these shows, right? I'll continue on. Here's JP Morgan Chase's blueprint to become the world's first fully AI-powered mega bank. The prospect of collapsing workloads mean that fewer junior bankers may be needed, even while AI-enabled teams handle more work and pitch more companies, according to senior Wall Street executives at several firms who spoke on the condition of anonymity to provide their candid thoughts. But to extract the full value from this new, almost magical technology, it's not just about the tools. Changes to how employees and departments are organized may be needed. A proposal being discussed at a major investment bank is reducing the ratio of junior bankers to senior managers from the current 6:1 to 4:1. In the new regime, half of those junior bankers would be working from cities with cheap labor, says Bangalore, India, and Buenos Aires, Argentina, instead of being clustered in expensive New York. The AI-powered junior bankers could then work on deals in shifts around the clock, passing the baton from one time zone to the next. With fewer bankers on the payroll, the cost structure of investment banking would fall, boosting the bottom line, said the executive. The bank is closing in on another frontier. It will soon allow generative AI to interact directly with customers, Waldron said. JP Morgan will start with limited cases, like allowing it to extract information for a user, before rolling out more advanced versions, he said. Instead, U.S. banks are becoming efficient warehouses and distributors of debt. One of the biggest banks here in Canada is saying the quiet part out loud. Since over 90% of transactions are handled digitally, and there's no profit on facilitating day-to-day banking, the entire bank is making a shift to mortgage lending and investment advisory. Canadian Morgan Trends reports mortgage approvals in hours, not days, TD leaning on AI to regain edge. TD is leaning on artificial intelligence to strengthen its mortgage and retail banking business, telling investors it sees both a $40 billion opportunity to win back client mortgages held at rival lenders and major efficiency gains from automated approvals, pre-approvals, and client service. CEO Chun framed the strategy as a way to deepen relationships with existing clients. In Canada, we've earned the trust of an enormous client base and lead in retail banking in primacy, he said. He also underscored the efficiency gains as a cornerstone of the plan, telling investors that AI-driven speed and consistency will play a critical role in both client satisfaction and long-term profitability. We're approving mortgages in hours instead of days. We are pre-approving credit cards with data-driven insights for millions of clients. We're producing reports in minutes versus hours or days, and we're responding to clients in just a few seconds, significantly shortening call and wait times, he said. AI-enabled adjudication is already reducing turnaround times, lifting one-day mortgage approvals by 20% in the mobile specialist channel, the bank noted. TD also highlighted TD Mortgage Direct, a digital funnel that turns online interest into instant callbacks from specialists. That channel has already funded $4.6 billion and converts at 4 times the old process, with 93% of routine transactions are now handled digitally. TD wants branches to focus less on bill payments and deposits and more on mortgages, renewals, and investing. Another 500 branch staff will be deployed into home borrowing or investing roles, with referrals to wealth advisors already up 18%. TD has also reorganized its proprietary mortgage channels, bringing mobile specialists and in-branch bankers closer together on complex deals. That collaboration is already showing results, with branch referrals funding 3 times as many mortgages and overall productivity up more than 40%, the bank confirmed. The writing's on the wall. Banks aren't transforming because they want to empower customers. They're transforming because the old model of profit through debt is unsustainable and new technologies threaten their relevance. AI and blockchain are more than tools for efficiency. They represent a shift in control from institutions to individuals. In the meantime, the banking institution will continue to break down in its fourth turning. Debt will get easier to obtain directly from U.S. Treasury or the Federal Reserve itself via stablecoins or new digital currencies. Well, I can tell you this right now, my friends. Based on this, always tell people, even if you're in the banking system, work for them, learn more skills, better yourselves, be more multitask. Trust me, you'll thank me later. And furthermore, let's learn to decentralize ourselves, gold, silver, pay off your properties. I know some of us consider tenants, but we still got an advantage compared to other people. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else. I've been thankful in my life. I'm not a rich guy at all. However, I do own these assets, and I'm very thankful for that. Always want to prepare yourselves. Even if you have children, give them the truth. Don't sugarcoat everything, but give them the basic rundown. And I'm not gonna teach you how to be a parent, but children are curious. They want to know the truth. Don't tell them in fear, but with love and in good faith. So one thing I gotta say about this: decentralize yourselves the best you can, little by little. It's not saying it's gonna be easy. We've all been conditioned and all been swindled one way or the other, but that's okay. Even yours truly has been through the same boat. So, folks, like I said before, don't comply, decentralize. And a lot of interesting stuff is happening around the world. So the United States is not the only ones with issues. If you think one person, blame everything on one person, you're being delusional. Well, that will be it. I thank everyone for listening, but feel free to download and share this right your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. You can hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me if you want to donate, go to PayPal.me or cash.app/local3. If you can follow me, and give me a little crypto love on Steemit, I'm there at LL3-Podcast. I will leave the footnotes of these articles on the page of this episode so you can check it out for yourselves. I always tell people, please observe responsibly. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Till next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love. May your guardian spirits be with you.